think there's any hope that Trump learned a little bit from that, and that he actually will, him and JD Vance will try to implement their rhetoric about Ukraine and being non-interventionist? Trump, in his speech, he said, I could end a war with a phone call. So his whole thing is about making deals and ending wars instead of starting them. And what do you think that he learned from his first term, and he'll implement that, or do you think he'll just go right back to the swamp?
I think it's possible, but I don't think it's likely. And so if you're one of those people that's like, well, I prefer to vote for Trump, but these issues concern me, you should be very vigilant and not expect that you can just sit back in your armchair and new wars won't happen. I think what a lot of people in the United States and also in other countries, the way they sort of approach politics these days is, I'm going to vote for this guy, and as long as this guy gets in the White House or whatever, everything, he's going to magically fix everything. I don't think that's true. And in this case, we have an example of how, in his first term, his campaign rhetoric differed very much so from his policy record as president. And I think it's very likely that will happen again, especially when you consider that he has framed himself as sort of this anti-establishment populist, but he's talking about putting people like Jamie Dimon in charge of the Treasury, and people like Eric Prince in the Pentagon. And I'm sure, we'll be making some more, floating some potential cabinet ideas as it gets either closer to the election or immediately thereafter. And so, I don't want to say it's not going to I don't like to make those kind of predictions. But again, I think because of what we saw last time, it's very unlikely that it's going to be really radically different in terms of being less interventionist than it was in the first, in Trump's first term as president. And I think it's actually, unfortunately, quite likely that we could see some sort of hostilities in the Middle East because, Israel is in a war that it is likely to go regional, involve Hezbollah, potentially involve Yemen now, and is likely to spread beyond that. And Israel has been very interested in getting, former Mossad directors have said on record that the goal is to have the United States make the first strike against Iran when they're ready for that war. So if there was any time for that war to happen and be likely, it's over the next 4 years or so. And Trump is, unfortunately very beholden to the Israel lobby, as is JD Vance, and really as are both parties. So I think people should be very, vigilant about the threat of more Middle Eastern wars in particular.